Le paysage de l'auto-édition de livres électroniques s'est profondément transformé au cours de la dernière décennie. Ce qui était autrefois perçu avec scepticisme par l'industrie de l'édition est devenu une voie légitime, souvent privilégiée par les auteurs du monde entier. Pour comprendre l'état actuel de ce marché en pleine évolution, nous avons rencontré Chris Austin, dont la plateforme Draft Digital accompagne plus de 300 000 auteurs publiant plus d'1 million de titres sur les marchés internationaux. Depuis Oklahoma City, il nous a livré son analyse de la façon dont les auteurs indépendants transforment le monde de l'édition. Des interviews, des chiffres, des faits, des études. Pas de blabla, ce sont les podcasts de Visionary Marketing disponibles sur toutes les bonnes chaînes de balado-diffusion. Bonjour et bienvenue dans les podcasts de Visionary Marketing, le sujet du jour, au cœur du secteur de l'auto-édition de livres électroniques avec Chris Austin de Draft Digital. Voici le compte-rendu en français de ma discussion avec Chris Austin. Vous retrouverez l'original en anglais à la fin de ce podcast comme d'habitude. Alors d'abord, pouvez-vous nous présenter Draft Digital et sa mission ? Donc Chris Austin nous dit que Draft Digital accompagne actuellement plus de 300 000 auteurs qui publient de manière indépendante plus d'1 million de titres. Nous sommes en activité depuis 2012, nous dit-il, et le secteur a considérablement évolué depuis. Notre objectif est d'aider les auteurs à réaliser leurs rêves en supprimant les obstacles techniques et en rendant le processus de publication aussi fluide et simple que possible. Nous avons publié des livres dans plus d'une centaine de langues, nous dit Chris Austin. Si l'anglais reste prédominant, environ 15 à 20% des ventes proviennent de titres non anglophones, l'espagnol et l'allemand se classant respectivement en 2e et 3e position. Notre distribution atteint 180 pays et près de 40% de l'ensemble des ventes s'effectuent hors des États-Unis. On remarquera que le français n'est malheureusement pas dans cette liste. Lorsque nous avons démarré en 2012, nous dit Chris Austin, l'auto-édition n'en était qu'à ses balbutiements. Le véritable déclic s'est produit en 2007 quand Amazon a lancé le Kindle, déclenchant l'explosion des livres numériques. À l'époque, être auteur indépendant restait stigmatisé, nous dit-il. Beaucoup estimaient qu'il n'avait pas la même crédibilité que les auteurs publiés par des maisons d'édition traditionnelles. Aujourd'hui, cette perception a totalement changé, nous dit Chris Austin. De nombreux auteurs choisissent désormais l'auto-édition en premier lieu. Nous voyons également apparaître des auteurs hybrides, nous dit-il, qui alternent entre édition traditionnelle et indépendante selon leurs objectifs. L'attention s'est déplacée vers la qualité du livre et la demande des lecteurs plutôt que vers le modèle de publication lui-même, nous dit Chris Austin. La majorité de nos livres électroniques, poursuit-il, relèvent de la fiction de genre, roman d'amour, héroïque fantasy, policier et thriller. Les catégories de fiction narrative représentent environ 80% des ventes d'e-books, nous dit Chris Austin. Notre service d'impression à la demande présente un schéma différent avec approximativement 40% de fiction et 60% de non-fiction, nous dit-il. Tous ces ouvrages s'adressent à des lecteurs grand public qui lisent pour le plaisir. Pour les ouvrages riches en images comme les livres photographiques, la demande est plus exigeante. Les livres comportant beaucoup d'images nécessitent généralement un maquettiste professionnel, nous dit Chris, pour obtenir la mise en page souhaitée, particulièrement en format numérique où la présentation peut s'avérer délicate. Pour les éditions papier, l'impression couleur et la mise en page impliquent une complexité supplémentaire par rapport aux publications uniquement textuelles. Pour information d'ailleurs, nous donnons un exemple de livre que nous avons produit avec antimuseum.com sur 15 ans de photographie dans la chorale du 14e arrondissement Darius Milhaud. Alors comment réussir dans son auto-édition de livres électroniques ? Les auteurs qui réussissent le mieux, nous dit Chris, abordent l'édition comme un projet d'entreprise. Après avoir créé un livre dont ils sont fiers, ils se concentrent sur le marketing, la visibilité, les ventes et la distribution. Ils adoptent un état d'esprit entrepreneurial. Cela étant, cette activité peut aussi fonctionner à temps partiel, notamment pour les auteurs qui écrivent des séries comportant plusieurs tomes. L'un des avantages de l'édition indépendante est qu'il n'est pas nécessaire d'avoir un lectorat massif pour réussir, nous dit Chris. Les auteurs indépendants conservent généralement 60 à 80% des produits de leur vente. Ceci leur permet de fixer des prix compétitifs et de cibler efficacement des marchés de niche. Même avec 2000 lecteurs potentiels, nous dit-il, si vous captez ce public et le fidélisez, vous pouvez envisager le futur sereinement. Alors comment capter un public mondial ? D'abord, nous dit Chris, la disponibilité est essentielle. Les auteurs téléchargent leur manuscrit au format Word sur notre site, accompagné d'une image de couverture. Je recommande de ne pas dépenser plus de $100 pour une couverture au démarrage, nous dit Chris. Notre système convertit l'ensemble en format numérique et assure la distribution vers des milliers de boutiques, dont les grands e-commerçants, les plateformes plus petites et les bibliothèques aux États-Unis, au Royaume-Uni, en Australie. Ils sont disponibles généralement en quelques jours. Des métadonnées précises, nous dit-il, titres, descriptions et catégories sont essentielles pour aider les lecteurs à trouver votre livre. Alors, qu'est-ce qui se passe si on est inconnu? La visibilité constitue toujours un défi, nous dit Chris Austin. Les auteurs qui réussissent établissent le contact avec leurs lecteurs sur les réseaux sociaux. Ils choisissent aussi les plateformes en fonction de leur public cible. Facebook peut convenir à une démographie plus âgée, tandis que TikTok touche les lecteurs plus jeunes. Les auteurs doivent identifier où se rassemble leur audience et investir des efforts pour construire ces connexions. Rien n'est gratuit quand on vend un produit, nous dit Chris, ceci exige un travail constant. Quelles sont les principales différences maintenant de pratique de lecture selon les pays? Les préférences de lecture varient considérablement d'un pays à l'autre, nous dit Chris Austin. Certains pays, comme les États-Unis, adoptent les livres électroniques de manière massive, tandis que d'autres, comme l'Allemagne, privilégient encore nettement le papier. Certains marchés, comme le Canada, montrent une préférence pour les coffrets de livres. Il faut noter que les lecteurs allemands consomment beaucoup de livres en anglais. Nous vendons donc des quantités importantes de titres imprimés dans cette langue dans ce pays, nous dit-il. Alors, quel est l'équilibre actuel entre e-books et livres papier? Lorsque les e-books ont commencé à se développer vers 2007, nous dit-il, nombreux étaient ceux qui craignaient la mort du livre imprimé. Cela ne s'est jamais produit. La croissance des e-books a atteint son pic vers 2013, mais le livre papier est resté dominant. Actuellement, environ 60% des livres vendus sont imprimés, nous dit-il, et 40% sont des e-books. Bien que cette proportion varie selon les genres. Les lecteurs de romans d'amour achètent principalement des e-books en raison de leur coût inférieur et de leur praticité, nous dit-il, tandis que les lecteurs d'ouvrages sérieux préfèrent le papier pour le plaisir du toucher et sa facilité de consultation. Ce ratio est resté relativement stable depuis des années, nous dit-il. Alors, est-ce que les gens lisent moins qu'avant? La question a 300 millions de dollars. Les statistiques de lecture fluctuent par cycles successifs, nous dit Chris Austin. Nous avons connu un pic significatif pendant les confinements liés au Covid et les statistiques baissent depuis. Nous observons une reprise cependant. Les livres sont désormais en concurrence avec le streaming et les réseaux sociaux dans une course à l'attention, poursuit-il. Mais les lecteurs assidus trouveront toujours des livres qui leur plaisent. Nous sommes optimistes, nous dit Chris Austin, quant au fait que les jeunes générations découvriront les livres qui leur parlent et développeront des habitudes de lecture. Les livres écrits par l'IA sont présents sur l'ensemble du marché, nous avertit Chris Austin. Nous soutenons l'utilisation de l'IA comme outil pour structurer un plan, faire du brainstorming et diverses autres formes d'assistance. L'IA, tout comme les traitements de texte et les correcteurs orthographiques avant elle, peut aider les auteurs de manière régulière. En revanche, nous ne cautionnons pas les contenus entièrement générés par l'IA, explique Chris. C'est devenu un défi majeur, des plateformes comme Amazon qui sont submergées par ce type de contenu. Cela nuit au secteur et complique la recherche de livres de qualité, ajoute-t-il. L'IA finira peut-être par produire une excellente littérature, mais nous ne sommes pas encore là, ajoute-t-il, et cela reste un défi permanent pour le marché. Alors comment Draft Digital aide les auteurs à se démarquer sur un marché saturé? Nous entretenons des relations commerciales avec tous les grands distributeurs, nous dit-il. Notre mission consiste à identifier les livres prometteurs et à les proposer pour une mise en avant et des opérations promotionnelles. Nous soumettons des milliers de titres chaque année avec un taux de réussite de 60%. Les auteurs peuvent postuler via notre site pour participer à ces programmes. Nous investissons également massivement, ajoute-t-il, dans la formation des auteurs à travers notre podcast Self-Publishing Insiders. Nous y interviewons des leaders du secteur, des auteurs indépendants à succès et des prestataires de services pour aider les auteurs à améliorer leur stratégie marketing et commerciale. Alors, quelles sont les prévisions de Chris Austin pour l'avenir de l'édition numérique? Les auteurs indépendants, nous dit-il, ont fait la preuve de leur agilité et de leur capacité à répondre rapidement aux attentes des lecteurs dans un secteur qui met du temps à s'adapter. Les éditeurs traditionnels se tournent de plus en plus vers les auteurs indépendants pour comprendre comment fonctionner différemment. Il recrute activement des auteurs indépendants à succès dans le monde de l'édition traditionnelle. Je m'attends à ce que l'édition traditionnelle adopte davantage de caractéristiques de l'édition indépendante, plus d'agilité, de souplesse et de réactivité, nous dit-il. Cette convergence va continuer à s'accélérer dans les années à venir et c'est cela sa conclusion. Alors, quelques réflexions sur l'auto-édition de livres électroniques, enfin, de ce podcast. La révolution de l'auto-édition de livres électroniques a fondamentalement modifié le paysage de l'édition. Ce que décrit Chris Austin n'est pas simplement un changement de canaux de distribution, mais une démocratisation fondamentale du métier d'auteur, avec des plateformes comme Draft Digital qui suppriment les obstacles techniques et offrent un accès au marché mondial. Les facteurs déterminants du succès sont passés des gardiens du temple aux lecteurs eux-mêmes. Pour les auteurs en herbe, le message est clair, un contenu de qualité, un sens des affaires et un contact direct avec les lecteurs comptent plus que jamais. La stigmatisation de l'auto-édition, en conclusion, a cédé la place à la reconnaissance que, en définitive, la valeur d'un livre réside dans sa capacité à trouver et satisfaire son public cible, quelle que soit la façon dont il l'atteint. Et maintenant, je vous laisse en compagnie de Chris Austin pour la version originale de ce podcast en anglais. Well, I'm here with Chris Austin talking from Oklahoma City. Hello, Chris.
Hey, how's it going, Jan?
I'm fine, thank you. You're the founder of Draft Digital, a self-publishing platform that helps authors convert, distribute, and market ebooks and print books across major online retailers such as Amazon, Apple Books, Kobo, offering royalty management and automated formatting tools. So we're going to review with you the self-publishing landscape. Maybe I can ask you to present Draft Digital briefly, if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So Draft Digital currently serves over 300,000 authors that are independently or self-publishing over 1 million titles. And so we've been doing this since 2012. And the industry's changed quite a bit in that 13-year time period. Yeah. But we've been pretty fortunate to see a lot of growth in this area. And really, our goal is to help authors achieve their dreams. And we do that by really knocking down a lot of technical barriers and making things as streamlined and simple for them as possible.
All right. And we haven't talked about different languages. Is it only English books or is it books in all sorts of languages?
Yeah, we've actually published books in probably about over 100 languages. It's primarily English, but about 15 to 20% of sales are non-English books. So it's English, and then Spanish and German are kind of the top three. So
okay, is it operating in Europe as well?
Yes, absolutely. We sell books are distributed and sold worldwide in 180 countries, and about 40% of all sales happen in non-US sales. So
okay, so very international. And you mentioned up front that the self-publishing landscape had evolved quite a bit since 2012. So maybe you can expatiate on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we started Draft Digital in 2012, self-publishing was really just kind of getting off the ground. I would say that it kind of started in full force in 2007 when Amazon released the Kindle, a nice, comfortable e-reader that you could hold. And that was really like the explosion of digital books kind of started around then. And that allowed authors to, without having to print books, they could get their books out to readers, all in digital formats. And but around the time we started in 2012, there was quite a bit of stigma around becoming an independent or self-published author, almost like that authors didn't feel like they were as worthy as traditionally published authors. And in fact, I would say some of the industry itself treated authors that way. You move up to today, and there's a lot of authors that self-publishing is their first choice. It's actually, they aspire to publish through that sort of model versus traditional publishing. And then you have a lot of authors now who are both. They are traditionally published and independently published, which we tend to refer to them as hybrid authors. And so authors are moving back and forth between the two models. Some want traditional publishing first, some want indie publishing first. And it's just really changed a lot, that it's really about the quality of the book and what the readers are wanting, and not necessarily the model in which the authors are publishing. So.
When you're talking about authors in this case, is it mostly B2B or B2C, and what kind of authors really?
Great question. The majority of our books are actually fiction, genre fiction. So just imagine romance books, fantasy books, mysteries and thrillers. In the ebook side of things, the vast majority of sales are in those narrative fiction books, probably about 80% of sales in ebooks. We also offer a print-on-demand service, and it's about 40% fiction and about 60% nonfiction. But these are all looking to be sold toward consumers, just end-user consumers purchasing and reading because they want to read. So
okay, I'm a photographer, and as a photographer, I'm interested as well in publishing photography books. Is self-publishing a viable option for us?
It is. It's a lot more work when you're dealing with image-heavy books. You tend to need to pay a professional formatter that can lay out the book in a way that looks really, that looks the way you want it to be presented, especially in a digital format. You can imagine how that can be complicated. But in a print format, if you want it to look right, color printing and layout can be a lot more complicated than just, purely words on a page.
Yes. So, yes. Well, we'll stick to black and white then. What are the key factors contributing to author success in self-publishing?
Yeah, absolutely. So the main factors really are authors that succeed are the ones who treat it like a business. Honestly, they start off after they've created their book. So I recommend make a book that you like, that you feel proud of, that you want to write. And then start thinking about how you're going to market that book, how you're going to get people to find out about that book, how you're going to sell it, how you're going to distribute it. And the most successful authors are the ones who really go all in and treat it as a business, like they're an entrepreneur. But it's not necessary to be that. It doesn't need to be that way. You could kind of be a part-time job if you're writing quite a few books, writing in series. Like I said, we do a lot of fiction. So you might have 3, 4, 10 books in a particular series. One beautiful thing about indie publishing is you don't need a very large following of readers to be quite successful. Indie authors can keep a very large percentage of those sales of their books, usually in the 60 to 80% range. They get to keep those that revenue directly for themselves, so they can sell books for a lower price. And they can reach very niche markets where you might only have, maybe there's only 2,000 people in the entire US who might want to read your book. But if you can get all of them to buy your book and then buy your next one, then you can become quite successful as an author. This is very different than the traditional model. So
okay, right. And assuming that I'm Joe Bloggs, based in Europe, and I want to reach out to the world, how would you help me do that?
Yeah. So first is, like I said, you got to get your book out everywhere so that where readers are. You want to reach where readers are. And a service like Draft2Digital allows you to upload your book to our website in a Word document format. We would need a cover image from you, which we can help you find, but I wouldn't recommend spending more than like $100 on a cover image when you're starting out. And our system would convert everything to digital formats, and then we would be able to get it around the world within just a few days. It'd be in just thousands of stores, all the major online retailers, even some smaller online retailers, but and also into libraries. We have library partnerships throughout the US, the UK, and Australia. And so availability is basically your first step. And making sure you're putting good data. We call it metadata, but like the title and the description, and you're basically making it clear what your book actually is. So you're not disappointing readers by pretending your book is something that it's not. And
But I suppose it's not a piece of cake, actually. Mostly when you're based here in Europe and you're not well known and you have to reach out to the world, it's a challenge, isn't it?
It is always going to be a challenge to be found. A lot of very savvy authors, they connect with their readers through social media methods. So, I mean, you could just think of all the different social media accounts. Maybe you have your target audience is older. And so maybe Facebook's where you're looking at targeting, or maybe it's a younger group. And so you're looking at TikTok. So you do need to think about where you might find your audience. And nothing comes for free when it comes to trying to sell something. You have to work at it. So.
Yeah, I suppose it's a lot of work. Yeah. You mentioned that you were selling in all sorts of countries and all sorts of languages. So what are the main differences in reading habits between the US and non-US countries?
Yeah, so this is a very interesting question. So some countries, their readers are okay reading ebooks. So you have a higher percentage of ebook readers, perhaps like in the US. But in certain areas of Europe, like perhaps Germany, they still prefer much higher percentages in print. That would be one major difference I would see. Some areas prefer buying like bundles of books. That might be like Canadian area. And then obviously the types of books people might want to read in different areas really changes. But, Germany is a really interesting one because they read a lot of English books. And so we can sell a lot of English print books in Germany.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. And talking about which, how are ebooks developing versus print books, printed books, paperbacks and hardcovers?
Right. So when ebooks really started growing significantly, starting around 2007 with the Kindle, there was a lot of worry that it was going to displace print books. There was a constant refrain that, what's going to happen to print? Print's going to die. That never happened. I would say the peak was probably around 2013 or so of peak ebooks, might be looking about right, but still the majority of books sold are print. It's hard to get exact numbers, but I would say roughly 60% of books sold are print, 40% are ebooks. But that's very genre dependent. So if romance readers, they buy most of their books in ebook format, for example. And that makes perfect sense. Romance readers read a lot of books. So the cost is cheaper on the ebook side. It's also doesn't take up, walls and walls of shelves because of all these print books. And but on the nonfiction side, people tend to prefer print. They really want something to hold and to flip through, the markup, and nonfiction readers interact with their books differently. So there's a lot more print books sold in the nonfiction side.
Still, 40% is a very high percentage for ebooks.
It's true. Yeah, it is. It's very true. But it hasn't really changed a lot for many, many years. It's kind of hanging around there. And I think print's going to be around. But to us, a book is a book. It doesn't matter really. Is it ebook or audiobook or print book? We want readers finding the books how they want to read them. So it doesn't really matter too much about it.
I don't know about the US, but here on the continent, there's a lot of people actually whinging that books are disappearing, that people can't read anymore and that they're not reading anymore. Is that something that you see as well in Draft to Digital, or on the contrary, do you find that there are more and more readers?
So I would say, if anything, readership, it comes in, it waxes and wanes really. And I would say we're back in a kind of a bit of a low at the moment. We really peaked right after the COVID time period. People were just reading like crazy during the lockdowns and all the different things that happened through COVID. And I think we've been coming down from that peak for a while, but it looks like readers are starting to re-engage again, if that makes sense. But there's a lot competing with books now. Digital streaming media is really big. Social media is taking up people's time. But in the end, readers, if they want to read, they're going to read. They're going to find their books. And but it does. It comes and goes. And I think that the younger generations will probably pick up books they like and they'll start reading. That's kind of what we would hope. So.
Yeah, that's what we hope too. But But at this moment, there's most talks are about artificial intelligence transforming the book market, isn't it? So, how do we find AI-written books on Draft to Digital?
There are AI-written books everywhere. What we don't support is fully AI-created books. So AI-related tool sets can be used as tools. They can be very useful tools helping authors perhaps outline a story, brainstorming, and various other ways. I mean, authors have been using tools forever. You know, we always say like word processor eventually became a tool, right? And then spell checkers helped out, and you can just go on and on and on. And we support authors using whatever tools help them make better books. What we don't support is just the output of fully generated AI generated books. And they are becoming a challenge in the market. You'll see everywhere, Amazon especially is dealing with this problem, but everywhere is dealing with it being flooded with fully AI generated content. I think that's harmful to the industry. I think that should be something that we work to control so that readers can find the books they're looking for. Perhaps one day AIs can generate really great books like an author, but this is not today. We're not there today. We're not even really close today. But it's a challenge for the market, and it will continue to be so for many years. So.
Okay. There's nearly 1 million original ebooks in your catalog. How do you help new authors stand out in a saturated market?
Yeah, it's so we have a couple of things that we do. One is we have relationships with all of our retail partners that we call on the merchandising side. So we can work with those teams at retailers to identify books that we think that their readers will be excited to read. And we basically propose them to those retailers to have them spotlight those books, promote those books. And we submit thousands and thousands of books a year into these programs, and we have a 60% success rate. I mean, we get a lot of books placed throughout all the retailers. And that's probably, and so authors just have to apply. There's a place on our website where they can submit in applications basically to have their books promoted in that way. The reason for the form is so that we know that these authors are active authors, they're involved authors, and they're wanting to see their books succeed. We also do a lot of educational content for our authors. We have a Self-Publishing Insiders podcast, which is where we interview lots of industry leaders, other indie authors, perhaps services that help serve indie authors. That might be marketing services as well, just to kind of help authors learn about how they can do a better job selling their books. So author education is a very important part of what we do. So.
Mm-hmm. Right. Very insightful. Now, let's talk about the future, if you don't mind. What are your predictions for the next major evolutions in the digital publishing sector?
So I think you really got to think about this from the beginning where we used to be. So like I said, indie authors struggled in the beginning to be accepted. And they're much more accepted now. They've really shown their agility and their ability to quickly move in this industry, which has historically been very slow to respond to what readers want. And what I think you'll see is traditional publishing looking toward indie authors more and more for insight into how they can do things differently. They'll be tapping independent authors specifically and pulling them into the traditional world, because it's just hard. You can't deny the speed that indie authors work. I mean, they just work very, very rapidly to meet the new demands of the readers. And it's very exciting to see. And so I think what you'll continue to see is traditional authors start to look a bit more like indie authors, like the agile side and the flexible side of the industry. That would be over the next few years, you're going to see a lot of that. So, yeah.
All right. Very insightful. Thank you very much, Chris, and good luck for the future.
Great. Thank you very much.
Surtout, n'oubliez pas de mettre une bonne note à ce podcast si vous l'avez apprécié.